Alright, hey guys, so now we'll be going over the Game 3 worksheet that we have created for you. Everything in here is very straightforward, so it should not be that difficult. First off, we'll be going over the key terms. Although Sam and G1 already went over everything, we'll be reviewing it one more time. The first vocabulary we have is Nash equilibrium, and it is a result when each player in a game chooses an action that maximizes his or her payoff, given the actions of other players. So in other words, it's a place where there's no benefit for either player to change their strategies given the strategy the other has chosen. Next, we have dominant strategy for a player regardless of his or her opponent's strategies. Next, we have tit for tat. It's a strategy in which the player mimics her opponent's prior period action in each round. So for example, if player A decides to cheat in round 1, then player B will be more driven to cheat in round 2, and vice versa. And lastly, we have tacit collusion. This is when firms limit production and raise prices in a way that raises each other's profits, even though they have not made a formal agreement. That was it for key terms, and next we'll be going on to multiple choice questions. Guys, so now we're on the multiple choice section of the worksheet, and all the questions here should have been very straightforward and not difficult, but still here are the answers, and we'll still be going through each question. So number 1, when a firm makes a decision by predicting what another firm will do is B, strategic behavior. That's very straightforward. Number 2, which is an example of strategic behavior? A, Samsung decides to increase advertising expenditures in an attempt to increase market share. B, your friend deciding between telling the principal who cheated on the test or taking all of the blame. C, a firm deciding what pricing behavior to adopt. Or D, all of the above. And D, all of the above is the correct answer. In all three previous options, you see that a firm or an individual has to make a decision, and that decision entails a benefit or a consequence. But more importantly, we have to realize that a decision of another firm or an individual also decides the benefit and consequences of the firms or individuals in the three options. Next question, number 3. The optimal choice for a firm, regardless of their competitor's decision, is C, dominant strategy. That's just a vocab term, and you should definitely know that by now. Number 4, what is an example of Nash equilibrium? The correct answer here is A, both firms choose their dominant strategy, and like I mentioned previously, a Nash equilibrium is a place where there's no benefit for either player to change strategies given the strategy the other has chosen, and we often see this as where there's a intersection of dominant strategies of the firms involved. And last question is number 5. Which of the following circumstances best allows for a tit-for-tat strategy to exist? And the correct answer is B. The number of firms in the market share must be relatively small, because the more amount of firms in a market, it's going to be difficult to meet the standards and requirements and the best options for all of these firms. So yes, the fewer the number of firms, the easier it will be. So that's it for the MCQ section. Next, we'll be moving on to the free response. Hey guys, so now we'll be going over the FRQ section of the worksheet, and I'll be going over the whole question with you guys right now. I won't be rereading the whole question because hopefully everyone has done so already, but I did want to point out that it's very important that you guys read the question carefully, because what they're asking for is not the number of burgers Daniel O'Brien has eaten, but the amount of protein that they consumed. So the first part of the question asks us to draw a matrix representing a given situation, and like G1 has described earlier in the videos, it's best and easiest if you guys draw a matrix and put a dash between each box. And personally for me, I also like to draw a box around this individual. So now let's look at the given situation. So if both Daniel and Brian back down, then they each will be getting 10 grams of protein because they will be splitting it. If Daniel decides to back down and Brian decides to fight, then Brian will be getting 20 grams of protein while Daniel will be getting none. And if Daniel decides to fight and Brian decides to back down, then vice versa, Daniel will be getting 20 grams of protein while Brian will be getting none. Hold on, that's really difficult to see, so let's use a different marker. 10, 10, 0, 20, 20, 0, 0. And lastly, if Daniel decides to fight and Brian decides to fight, they will be both getting 5 grams of protein because none of them will be eating a burger, but they will be splitting a sandwich in Dr. Gerhard's office. Like I said, I like to put a box around this, so these will be all Daniel's numbers. And yeah, so now let's look. If Brian decides to back down, what would be the best option for Daniel? Would it be 20 or 10? Yeah, so yes, it would be 20, so let's put a star there. If Brian decides to fight, what's the best option for Daniel? Would it be to back down or fight? And obviously, once again, 5 is better than none, so we put a star here, and Daniel's dominant strategy would be to fight. Now let's look at Brian's. If Daniel decides to back down, should Brian fight or back down? And obviously, like here, 20 is better than 10, so we put a check here. And if Daniel decides to fight, what should Brian do? Well, once again, 5 is better than nothing, so we put a check here. And once again, this should be Brian's dominant strategy. And we see that the dominant strategy for both will be to fight, so we circle this box right here. And we see that for both individuals, the dominant strategy is to fight, and we also see that there's an intersection of dominant strategies in this box. So the Nash equilibrium will be here as well, because both individuals, upon knowing the decision of another individual, will not switch to another. Right? So if Daniel decides to fight, Brian would not switch to backing down because he will be getting 0. If Brian decides to fight, Daniel will be not switching to backing down because then once again, he will be getting 0. Okay, so that's it for the worksheet. I hope everyone scored really well on this and that it was helpful. Thank you.